Hope so. Now Blender is completely downloaded. Now what you have to do, just go right down here and then write Blender. Sorry, Blender. Now you have to double tap on this icon to open this app. And then, so, and then this user interface will come up. Now before this, another default settings will come to you and you just have to do skip those settings default mode. Don't change anything else. Now then, click anywhere here. This is a viewport. Don't be confused or nervous because 20% of tools we use the most in our projects, whether it's modeling, animation, lighting, or rendering. We don't use 80% of these tools. So by first, here you are able to see edit option, go into this and then go into the preferences. And here it is resolution scale. If you are increasing it, your this user interface will zoom in, like how much you want to do it. I will keep it 1 to 5. Then yeah, it depends on you. So it will give you a nice look. And one else, what I want to do, enable the string task keys. So what I will press on my keyboard, you will able to see here. And which key I am going to press in you on my mouse, like left click or right click, you will see here. Or middle mouse button, that is called scroll wheel. So if I hold my scroll wheel or middle mouse button and then rotating it, so I can change the view in the viewport. So what is viewport basically? The white lines here you are able to see light, and these default objects are added, or a red or green line in this are called viewport. So yeah, it's viewport. And this is objects. This is the cube, this is camera, this is light. These objects are by default in Blender. When you are going to open this app, you will see these objects. So how do I know this object is called cube? So here you are going to see if I am left click on my mouse to select this, then here it's written cube. This is a scene collection. Any object you will select here, it will be highlighted in this scene collection. You also can say this outliner. So yeah, now with this hands you are seeing, you can move it anywhere. And with this, you can zoom in and zoom out. Like you have to just go into this button and then with left click, you have to zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, it is camera. This is our camera. And if I am pressing this key, we will load through the camera. And this is a what this is a user orthographic mode. And if I'm selecting again, this is a user perspective. So by default, we are using user perspective, but we can actually change it when we need it. And what else I can tell you in basics, if I'm selecting light, here you will see this is called detail panel. Detail panel. So here is the details of the objects. Like what is the transform of the object, rotation, location, and scale. If I am going to select any object, things will go change. And more interestingly, thing is, if I'm selecting cube, you will see there are more options here. Rather than I'm selecting any other object like camera, the options will decrease. Like light, the options will decrease. If I'm going to select any mesh object, this object is called mesh object. If I'm going to select any mesh object, options will be increases in our details panel. So now I am going to tell you what are these things. These are the tools by default in Blender. The first, by default, we are on this tool. It's called select bots. Select bots. So we are able to select any object or anything in our viewport by just clicking left button on mouse. So here you're able to see I'm clicking left button on my mouse. And after this, there is called cursor. What is cursor? Before moving on, let me tell you what is cursor. Just let me zoom a bit. Sorry, I zoomed it. Here you are able to see a plus sign or an arrow sign in which a circle is inserted. So if I'm selecting cursor, then I will able to move this cursor. What does this cursor do? It does what do? Sorry. So whenever we add any new object in our viewport, that object will come up from this cursor, or that object will add from this cursor. So mostly this is by default at middle of the center, but sometimes when we build a project, we do change the location of cursor. After this, there's another tool called move tool. So Blend is a very shortcut friendly. There are many shortcuts to use all these tools, then going to the tool and selecting it. Everyone who knows Blender, I am guarantee they most of the time use shortcuts on your keyboard because data very easy to do. I will tell you all these things, don't worry about those. So you just have to go into the move tool and then what you have to do, let me select this bots or cube, then there are three lines come up, blue, green, red. From this view, you are able to this. These lines, what are names of the lines? So blue line means Z axis. Here you are able to see names of colors or names of axis. Blue line means Z axis. Green line means Y axis. And red line means X axis. So if you are going to move your mouse on this green line, you are able to move your object on the Y axis. Same goes with Z axis and then X axis. So there's another shortcut you can do this by grab tool. Just you have to press G on your keyboard. Here you can able to see I am pressing G on my keyboard. So if you press G on your keyboard, you are able to move it freely. Just let me zoom out a little bit so you are able to see it well. If I am pressing G on my keyboard, you are able to move it freely, like anywhere in this viewport. But if I am pressing G and Z on my keyboard, then it will only move in the Z axis. It can't move in the X axis or Y axis. It will only move on the Z axis. But if I am going to press G and X, it will only move on the X axis, not on both other axes. But if I am going to press G and Y, it will only move on the Y axis. It will able to move on the Y axis. But if I am just pressing G on my keyboard, it will move freely. In which axis I want to move, I can move it. And after this, there's a rotate tool. Same goes with this. Blue line means Z axis, Y axis, and X axis. So you just have to rotate this blue line. You are able to rotate it on the blue axis, right? That means Z axis. If you are moving this green line, you are able to move it on the Y axis. And if you are able to move it on the X axis, that means you are moving X line, red line, sorry. So let me undo the rotation of this default tune. How can you undo? Just pressing Control or holding Control and then press Z on your keyboard. Like 3, 4, 5 times. Yeah, it's completely on our first default rotation as it was before. Now there's another tool that is scale tool. What scale tool do? Simply same goes with this. If you are moving this blue line, that means Z axis, you are able to scale it on the Z axis. If you are scaling it on the Y axis, you are able to move it. You are able to scale it on the Y axis. If you are moving on the red axis, that means X axis, you are able to scale it on the X axis. Just let me undo these rotations or scaling. After this, let me tell you what is the shortcuts of rotate and scale tool. If you are pressing R on your keyboard, I just pressed T. You have to press R on your keyboard. Then you are able to rotate it freely, light in any axis. There's no any command to move it on which axis. So if you are pressing just R on your keyboard, you can rotate it in any axis. But if you are pressing R and then X, you are able to move it on the X axis. Same goes with Y axis. If you are pressing R and then Y, then you are able to move it on the Y axis. But if you are pressing R and then Z, you are able to move it on the Z axis. But what else you can do? If you are just pressing R, you are able to move it freely, as I told you. So shortcuts are very easy to remember, and those shortcuts will help you to do better. And then there is another key, that is scale. If you press S on your keyboard, then you are able to scale it freely. But if you are going to press S and X on your keyboard, you are able to move it on, scale it on the X axis. But if you are pressing S and Y, then you are able to scale it on the Y axis. But if you are pressing S and Z, then you are able to scale on Z axis. So these are the very shortcuts keys of the Blender. This lecture is done. You need to watch this video again and again and do practice in your own Blender, because practice makes improvement. Practice makes a better person. So do practice as much as you can and watch this video again and again to learn much faster. And there are a bunch of other tools I will tell you or teach you in our next video. So stay till tuned.